Hey girls, it's Katie. This is a newborn must-haves video and a few live-withouts. A lot of people have requested this video, and it's something I love hearing from other people. It's amazing how different each family is and each baby is. Everybody's sort of top items are completely different sometimes. It's always been really interesting to me. And when Mike and I announced our pregnancy, we asked all of our friends who were parents for sort of their top, I think we asked for them their top 5 items for the first 3 months, something like that. And we used a lot of that information to influence our planning and our purchasing decisions. So I hope to pass on, what's working well for us. So of course you have to have like a car seat, somewhere for the baby to sleep, whether that's a crib, a bassinet, a pack and play, a sturdy dresser drawer, anything along those lines. And you've got to have some type of diapers no matter what you're going with. But besides those sort of very, very basics, my top 5 items. Number 1, for breastfeeding, it had to be a breastfeeding support pillow. I have the My Breast Friend, Boppy, same thing. I actually have a separate video, my top 10 breastfeeding lifesavers, where I go more into depth for breastfeeding supplies specifically. The pillow just helps so much in the beginning with positioning the baby the right way and with your own fatigue. I wasn't really prepared for the number of hours per day I would just spend doing nothing but sitting and nursing the baby. And the pillow really helps with, my back and just keeping both of us comfortable. It was well worth the money. Okay, next thing is some kind of carrier. There's all different styles out there. We have a variety. We have a just really simple sling. It's one piece of fabric. Alice tolerated this a bit in the beginning. Right now she is not tolerating it at all, but I'm thinking when she can fully sit up and we can do a hip carry, we'll probably come back to this one again. This was the one from 7 Slings I got with the free code. We had a friend lend us her ring sling. And Alice does like this one. Again, she doesn't always tolerate slings, but this one is a little bit more roomy, has a little bit more fabric to work with. So she likes it better than the other one. And I think, again, when she gets a little bit bigger, we'll have some more flexibility in the type of positions we can carry her with this one. We also do have a classic Baby Bjorn that my sister-in-law gave us. And this I like because it's really easy for the on and off, especially if you're by yourself. It is easier to put Alice in this one, say like getting her out of the car and running into a store, something like that, than the other carrier so far. We also have a Maytai that we haven't used too much so far, but again, that's going to give us flexibility of being able to use it on our backs. Next item are Muslin Swaddle blankets. This is the brand. These I got a set of 4 from Target. They have just certain designs that they sell at Target, and I think they're about $10 cheaper than the other designs, and they're the exact same blankets. So these I like because they're really big, really big. They're probably 3 feet square, and so you can use them as a blanket to sit on somewhere. They're great for swaddling. They're made of muslin, so they're stretchy, really breathable. You can cover up a car seat if the baby is sleeping in it to keep the light out. They're just great all around, and especially for a summer baby. We had a lot of friends recommend these blankets, and I wasn't sure I bought into the hype, but I would definitely recommend them. Just a couple clothing items. We loved sleep gowns, like this kind of style with just the elastic at the bottom. They just makes diaper changes in the middle of the night the absolute easiest. They fit for a really long time. They fit from the newborn stage until now. Alice is 3.5 months, and all of these are working just fine still. I also would recommend anything you can find for in newborn sizes that is side snapping or snapping in any way. So like these tiny little t-shirts, snap open. Most onesies and most shirts and outfits go over the baby's head, and Alice hated having stuff pulled over her head. especially when babies are so tiny. They're, you know, really floppy, and it can be really hard to pull things over their head without them getting upset and without things pulling too much. Anything that you can find that snaps open is just going to make it so much easier. The last thing in my top 5 is our bouncer. It's kind of big. We just have a really simple bouncer. It had a archway with toys that we took off because Alice was never too into it. This one also vibrates and plays music, but we almost never use those features. It is just really important to have a safe place to put the baby down once in a while, like when you need to get something hot out of the oven. Baby wearing is great, but there are certain times, like when you're cooking, that you're not going to have the baby close to a heat source. You're going to need to put her down, and the bouncer was perfect for that. I would use it to safely get her in and out of the bath when we were alone, so I would get into the tub first, reach over, take her out of the bouncer, and then, you know, the same to get her out. And it's also good for if people want to, you know, see the baby and interact with her, but maybe you don't necessarily want them to hold her, or they're not comfortable holding her. Putting her in the bouncer is a perfect way to get the baby time without the hands-on. Just a couple other things if I had to round out my list. I would put on there a breast pump. Even if you're breastfeeding, you could have issues with engorgement. You might need to increase your supply. You may just want to build up your freezer supply for the future. I just had a simple manual pump. This was my favorite. This is made by Lansano. And I actually do have an electric pump that I prefer the manual pump. So anyway, really briefly, you know, they make all different types of manual pumps, but I do recommend that for anyone, even if you're breastfeeding. The nose sucker from the hospital, these really are the best. I would say a thermometer was an essential for us because Alice was sick. When we brought her home, we were really concerned about signs of like an infection coming back, and we were really worried that she would start running a fever. And really, when you're just getting to know the baby, it's really hard to tell if they have a fever or not. Sometimes she would feel hot based on, you know, just what she was wearing or the time of day maybe, or if she was crying, she would get really hot sometimes. If she was in a carrier, she would get really hot. And I could never tell if that was like internal fever or if it was just being hot. So we have a rectal thermometer and also just a regular thermometer that we use axillary. Just to put your mind at ease, and if there is a fever, then you can get your doctor's advice right away. I would also say that meeting with a lactation consultant is an essential. No matter what your breastfeeding plans are, I think as early as possible to at least just talk about your goals with a lactation consultant. As you run into problems, of course, they're going to be like your best resource. If we hadn't had help in Alice's first week and throughout our issues with thrush, I don't know where we would be. I think breastfeeding can be frustrating, it can be painful, it can be sort of alienating for people. Lactation consultants are there to help with all of that, and I think that they are such an important resource. I wanted to mention a few things that I think we could have done without, even though I think they're things that most people consider essential. I think we could have done without a stroller at this point. We do have an umbrella stroller that Alice can start using when she's about 6 months, and then that'll carry her through the toddler years. Just very simple, small, folding stroller. Neither one of us wanted like the big travel system for an infant with like a big bulky stroller. I just generally like traveling a little bit light, and we have a small house, so I didn't want a stroller that would take up a huge amount of space in our entryway either. We ended up getting, for about $50, a universal travel frame that the infant car seat fits on top of, just sort of straps in, very simple, folds down really small, it's lightweight, and we have used it a little bit around the neighborhood. But honestly, 9 times out of 10, we're going to use a baby carrier when we take her out anyway. I really think we could have done without the stroller. It was something that Mike wanted because he wasn't sure he would feel comfortable carrying Alice in a sling or a carrier. But in retrospect, I think we definitely could have done without the stroller. I think we also probably could have done without a baby monitor. We did get one, just in case, sort of. But again, we have a small house. Normally when Alice is napping, we're just in the next room anyway, and we hear her as soon as she stirs. So there have been a couple of times that we've sat in the yard and used the monitor, but really we never have left her for any length of time or any great distance that we really felt like we needed the monitor, I don't think. I mentioned we did go without a swing. For a lot of people that is essential, and I think probably for a lot of babies they might need that movement, but we did okay without it with Alice. Diaper bag per se, you know, you can use any sort of bag, anything with good compartments and enough space. So of course you don't have to buy a official diaper bag. And lastly, I think we could have gone without an infant tub. You can always bathe the baby in a kitchen sink lined with towels so it's cushioned, and that way, you know, having her up higher I think feels more secure. We tried Alice in her infant tub when she was probably about 2 weeks old, and she absolutely hated it. She just screamed. I think we did that twice, and then we looked for another way. And what we have done since that day is to just get into the bathtub with her. To me, it feels so much safer to just be able to really be in control and be in there with her. You're not leaning over something. I worry a lot less about her slipping when she's resting on my lap or in my hands in the tub. And she likes it a lot better. It's a lot of quality time, like skin to skin, just kind of like quiet time. We have a lot of eye contact, and I really enjoy that, and it's been a very different experience than having her in her own little tub. So there you have it. Those are our newborn must-haves and do-withouts, and I hope they help.